All right, hello and welcome everybody. And today we are going to do rollerball. Let's get some music in here. It's your boy Gabs on the mic, and let's go ahead and get to it. We are going to do rollerball. We're going to start with obviously Unity Learn. Make sure you log in, get your points, people. Don't worry about the scripts. Don't worry about the overview. I am going to go through all of tutorial and moving the player today. When I say all of it, I mean from my end, what I saw. You are going to be required to watch 6, 7, 8, 9 in order to learn it, though. It is imperative that you all type in code yourself, but I'll talk more about that when I get there. So I'm going to go ahead and stop referring to that. I'm going to go back to Unity. I'm going to go back to projects, and I'm going to create a new project. Now, this is where my videos will differ from their videos because theirs is working on 2019, and they have some different updates that have been made. For example, they don't have the universal render pipeline labeled 3D sample scene anymore. Or rather, they didn't. Now it is. It's 3D sample scene. Make sure that you select this. You select there's like an arrow up button here. You're going to want to update it if you're working on it. Just for other purposes as well. Look at the location in which you're saving it. Because if your location has a lot of characters in it, I think it's like 75 or more, you actually will not be able to open this up. You're going to get a failure to decompress, I believe. And yeah, failure to resolve project template, failed to decompress. You're going to get this. Look at my long user over here, right? Even though it was saved on my desktop, my project, it saved it under my users, under my name, under my desktop, under app data, roaming, and all this stuff, and that's more than 75 characters, and it's just enough to where it failed to decompress it, and that's an error. You're gonna have to rename or relocate where you're saving your project. So I went to my C folder, and I created a new folder, my C drive, I apologize, my C drive, and I created a new folder called Unity Projects, and that's where everything is. We're gonna call this Roll a Ball, and it should go ahead and create that project. Perfect. So, a couple things. I'm going to imagine that this is your first Unity tutorial, although on my channel I already have the Unity Playground and the Unity Creator Kit RPG that my students will have done first before this. So my students who get to this section already having done the previous ones, I'm going to repeat some stuff that you're going to be like, all right, yep, I remember that. It's in those two videos. However, if you're new, it's going to be good information for you. How to rotate around, what QWERTY does, QWERTY, when you press those buttons, how to move, how to pan, simple things like that. Now, when we load in, we get this, which is beautiful. I don't want to see that anymore. You're not actually going to see this view. You're gonna, in your layout, you're gonna see this default template. I do not like this. I just don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. Still down here. I prefer the wide layout. I like to have everything on the bottom and then this on the side. All my assets, my inspectors on the side. I like to move this over. It's just easier for me. I'm gonna go ahead and, you know, this it's great to have these things already done for you, but we're gonna want to do it ourselves. It's always good to do something yourself to kind of like get it in your brain. So we're going to create something called a template. That's where we're going to put all this stuff in. By the way, left click, hold shift, left click, and I can drag it over. Left. And then for this one, I can hold control, multi-select, move it over. Cool. Let's create some folders here. First one we're going to create is our scenes folder. We're going to want to create a scripts folder. And I believe we're going to want to also create a materials folder. We're going to reference this throughout the... we're going to go through each of these as we go through this tutorial. If you watch Unity Learn videos, they'll create those folders while they do it. That's okay. Like when they get to scripts, they'll make a new scripts folder. Let's just get it out the way for us. Inside the scripts folder, what I did was I left click twice, double click, going to right click, create scene. I want to create a new screen. Am I in scripters? I'm in the wrong one. I need scenes. We're gonna create a new scene, ladies and gentlemen. Scenes, right click, create, scene. We're gonna call this one a mini game. And then we're going to double click mini game, and it brings us to our new scene. This is where we need to file, save. Have done everything correctly. You'll notice that these have nothing in them, which is why they look hollow inside. Next up, let's create some game objects in here, baby. We're creating rollerball. We want a platform to roll the ball on. We want a ball itself to roll. Rollerball, create it. Cool. So inside of our scene, we have different game objects. I want to create. Right click. For the object, we're going to do a plane. Plane exists in 2 dimensions, and it could have a thickness. It doesn't in our case. A couple of things to note about this plane that we've just created. We can rename it up here. We're going to rename it as the ground because this is what it's going to be. You could also left click, slow left click again, and then rename it in here. That's fine. I just think it's much easier to just name it in the inspector. You notice that you have a transform tool. Changes position, its rotation, and scale. What do those things do? Right? Scale. If I highlight my cursor over it, drag, I can scale it. There's no Y dimension. It's flat in the Y. And it's Z. So you'll notice that blue is Z. Red, X, and Y is green. So traditionally, it's like X, Y, Z, right? Like Z is like our 3rd dimension. In this case, it's X and Z are our plane. It's kind of great. Also see it up here, X, Y, Z. And like remind you which color is which one. Okay, so for us, let's scale it. Just make sure that the scale's right. Scale it as 2. 1. Oh wait, 1, 2. Another way you can scale it, by the way, QWERTY. Q, W, E, R, T, Y. But press Q, press W, press E, press R, press T, press Y. I'm good. The R stands for resize. Here's my resize tool. Control Z, Control Z. If I want to move it, I can click that. Click my object. I can move it up or down, left or right. Changes these values over here. I can click a plane to move it in. Click plane. Click plane. Right? So it's got a lot of cool features to it. Let's go ahead and let's 0, row 0. Set it to the set origin, the dead middle origin. That's our frame of reference for this game. Next up, let's create a sphere. Let's do it this way this time. I'm going to do game object 3D sphere. You could have right clicked in here and done it. Whatever. That's what I'll end up doing in the future. This is going to be renamed as player. That's our player object. Notice that's in the dead center. Sometimes for you guys, it might show up in the dead center. Other people might show up below. Who knows, right? If you want to see it, if you want to find it, click on it here. Put your mouse in here, press the F button, and you can zoom in on anything. Now, this is kind of hard to see sometimes when you have all this stuff kind of on it. So I'm zooming in and out using my scroll wheel on my mouse. If I hold down the scroll wheel, I can kind of like pan around, and that's good. That does some things. But what if I wanted to see the other side of the ball? Well, I could click Alt, hold it down. You'll see that eyeball appear while I'm holding Alt. If I left click, I can rotate around. I can below and above. Now, and this is just going to be good for you. And I'm not even letting go of the Alt button, honestly. But when I'm doing this, I'm holding the Alt and I'm using my middle wheel on my mouse to like rotate around, and it's just a beautiful system once you get used to it, honestly. Cool. So next up, a couple things. When we look at this object, you'll see that it has a scale 111. Same thing with ground. It has scale 212. I'm here to tell you that scale numbers relate to units. A unit can be literally anything. It can be a centimeter, it can be a meter, a foot, an inch, it can be the length of one desk. It's one single unit. However, to keep things consistent across the world, you're going to use SI units, Standard International. A unit is a meter in this class, in this system now. So this ground is scaled 2 meters by 2 meters. It should look like a square from above. This player, you'll see is 111, which means that in the X, it has a diameter of 1. the diameter of 1 all the way around. Well, it's a sphere, right? So it's all going to be the same. We want this ball to rest on the ground, so let's change its position, which I can go to Y, and I can move it up or down, right? And I can hope that and pray that I just get it to where it touches. Or I can use my brain, and I just told you this whole thing has a diameter of 1, and we can move it by 0.5, and it rests. Tip of that. Cool. We are moving. Let's look at our lighting now. This thing has lighting coming from up here. Click on our directional light. Let's change the color of this light. Let's change it to white. Left click anywhere in here. Hold it. Drag it. Or you go over here and just press a bunch of Fs. Should be 6 of them. 255. White light is comprised of red, green, yellow, blue, indigo, violet, RGB. It has all of them. A stands for all of them together, what it looks like. If I change values, excuse me, you'll see it change colors. We want white light. It is beautiful. Later on, we'll change its direction. Actually, let's change its rotation now. We can actually change its rotation. You'll see as I move my mouse, it changes. How am I doing that? I went over to here. I hovered over Y. Left click, hold. Holding it and just dragging it. Holding and dragging it. I want to change that to 250. Something standard. 030 111. Make it good. Alright, let's add some materials. So we created a new materials folder over here. Right click, create material. So inside the materials folder, right click, create material. This is our background material. This background, we want it to be, let's say, white as well. I don't really care about metallic map. Let's change its smoothness to 0.025. That's cool. Next up, let's do another one. Right click, create material. This is going to be our player color. Click on it, change it to, let's do a light blue. Light blue will be 0, 220, and like a 220. You'll see that color. Perfect. Looks good. Now, how do I get it to actually get onto my materials? 2 ways. Easiest way, click and drag. You can see that now it has that color. I let go of it. Now it has it. I can show you again. Control Z to undo. Left click, drag, hold, let go. Now, if you have a bunch of objects in your scene, and you're like, man, I only want it to go to this one specific object, and I don't want to make a mistake having to keep doing it, just click on that object. In this case, click on the ground. Under materials, I like to, by the way, minimize all these. Under mesh renderer, under materials, you'll see that there's like element 0. Click, hold, drag, over, let go, and it gives it that particular property. So you can give it that material property under its mesh renderer without having to like get lucky in the dragging and dropping inside the scene. I don't like that color. We'll go to background and material again. I'm gonna change. I think gray would be a little easier on the eyes. I think 130, 130, and 130 give me my gray. Actually, I know it will. And we are good to go. Look good. Now, we got to give it some physics. Now, right now, these things are just objects. They just have, I guess, it looks like a cutout shape, and it looks like they're just made of clay. These pieces of clay have no mass to them at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to player, and I'm going to add a component to it, and I'm going to give it a rigid body. You'll notice that the rigid body has mass now, meaning it is mechanical, meaning it has substance inside of this. It can be detected in a collision. Here. Perfect. Let's make sure that we can actually apply some forces to this ball to get it to move. Remember, we're going to press a button. In this case, our case, WASD, to get it to move up, left, down, right. You're going to want to go to Window, Package Manager, the Registry. I know that was a lot. Windows, Package Manager, Registry. Go to the eyes and do Input System Install. Might take some time, but Hey, it works. This is like a standard way to put inputs into Unity and be able to customize it and to be able to use the name. I think it's called a namespace in order to find it. Click yes. Click save. Let it reopen itself. And this is where if you skip a step, you actually will not get your ball to move. We actually have to give this ball some kind of player input. Go to player. Giving it mass. Player input. You'll notice that there are no actions associated with inputs yet. So we have to create some actions. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a new folder in here. New folder. We're going to call this folder in. And we're going to call this thing inputs capital I, capital A, input action. S at the end. Don't forget it. Spelling is important. The details matter. Cool. This pops up and now it actually has some kind of scheme for input action. And we see that it's over here. We actually have to program how the ball moves now. We press a button. Great. Fast isn't moving. How does it know what direction it's located? How is it going to read its input, basically? This is where we're going to have to create a script. So if we go to our assets, you'll notice that we don't have scripts in here. Any scripts yet. We're going to add a script. We're going to add a script to the player. So for us, it's easier. Just click player and add a component and then add a script, new script. Call that player controller. It's spelled right. Measure twice, cut once, people. Player controller. Create an add. The reason we did that method is because we know that since we selected player, we added that script to that player and it's going to apply just to that player. That's good for us, right? That way we don't have to create a script and then apply it later. Let's just do it all at once. Make it easy for us. You'll notice that the script is actually inside of the assets folder. We created it. Drag it over here. Now it's in here, and this is what the script looks like. We're going to want to edit this script. There's nothing to it. However, if you double click it, it might not open. It might say, what do you want to open it with? Ladies and gentlemen, go to edit. Go to preferences. Go to external tools. Make sure that it says external script editor under Visual Studio Community. It is there for you. Click on it. Now, I've already done this once. I took a picture of my completed code. Here's my completed code. There's a lot to this. It starts open. Look like this. If it stays like that, by the way, that screen where you see toolbox, but this .cs file doesn't pop up, you don't see all this here, exit out, get back in. If it says anything about access for like Windows Defender, just don't allow. By the way, you don't, I skipped the signing in thing. You can do that later on your own time if you want. I don't need it right now. All right. You'll notice that that looks vastly different than that. This is where you are going to go to moving the player. Number 6, you are going to watch these videos. You're going to write an onMove function declaration. You're going to apply input data to the player. You're going to apply force to the player. You're going to fix the player's movement speed. You're going to do all of this. And then you are going to play. See if it works. I am going to put up a name cover real quick. And it's going to be a black screen. I don't want you to see. I'm going to do something real quick. I'm still here. Hopefully you are here too. take that screen off now. I have my completed code. I want to show you guys some things. The save button. Save it. Always save. Just good practice. Now, if your code isn't working, it's because of you and you haven't typed it in. I've been doing coding for years now, and I always get the same errors. Mr. Gaffney, the video's wrong. It's outdated. No, it's not. It's your code. You just have to spend some time and some discipline to find it. This is where, for those of you who are trying to learn Rollerball and trying to learn Unity, I would highly recommend you type it all out and just really start learning what it looks like. This is C#. Couple things. If you forget a semicolon, your code will not work. It will actually show up with like a little red squiggly right there to say, hey man, I don't know if you meant to do this, but there's something wrong there, and there is something wrong there. You might get your capitalizations wrong. You might put a capital X here instead of a lowercase x. It'll pop up right there, little red squiggly. You might have vector here, like what my problem was and my code wasn't working. I was like, why is it working? Because for me, my dyslexic brain saw value and said vector. I don't understand why. Well, it's mainly because I put movement vector right before it. And I was like, oh, oops. I had to go back and change this to value. You'll notice that the red lines disappeared, right? You might forget to put the F for floating. You might put vector 2 instead of vector 3. You might have put SPOOD here, right? Or EOD. Check everything, check everything, check everything. There's always an error somewhere in your code that's preventing it from properly. Now, if we did this right, and I'm hoping that I didn't skip any steps, which I might have, because I didn't go through and watch 6, 7, 8, 9 again and do it step by step. This lady that explains this, she's already done it once, uploaded it. She did a better job than I ever could have at explaining what each of those lines represent. That these things right here are called namespaces and what they do, right? She explains what's a function. What's up, like, we have a variable and we have a name for it. And then in order to get that, you have to use this function right here to get, like, or whatever, right? Like, you need to go back and really watch those videos, which is what my students are going to do. We are going to watch those videos. Go back to Unity. See that it's updated in the script. Let's see if it works. It should work. Now, my camera was moving when I pressed WASD. Something isn't working right. I might have skipped a step, honestly, at this point. Oh yeah, speed. I think I have to give it an initial speed. If it doesn't work, that's okay. I'll go back and I'll rewatch it and I'll redo the code. Yep, there's my ball. My ball's moving. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect. Ball is moving. We'll talk about the camera aspect later. Okay? That's not important to us right now. What's important to us is that ball is moving. Everything is good. We did it right. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Hope this video found you well, and I hope the best happens to you. Take care.